So I've muted you so that way we don't get any background audio. In case you have any questions, please put them into the chat box in the GoToMeeting platform, and I will keep checking it and I'll answer you there. If you write to me privately, I won't say your name. I'll just answer the question in case I think everybody would benefit from hearing it. I'll answer it through speaking. If not, I'll just type back to you at the end. But please ask me questions as we go. I'm happy to answer them, and I'd rather answer them as we go because I'm sure that everybody else would benefit, even those who will be listening back later. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing that I want to talk about is the ECES website. I don't know if you've all had a chance to go through the website yet or if you've had a chance to log in. If not, then I will be showing you now. So when you go to the ECES website, it's this web address here. When you get to the first page, you'll see this main screen, and if you haven't already registered, or if you have, you'll click login at the top. If you've not already made an account, then you'll click register as new user, and then you'll enter your name. I've just made a fake one, and your date of birth, and click register. So once you get to this page, you'll see it pop up with your email. In this case, I've just entered a letter, and you'll create a new username and password. Okay. So once you register, okay. That one was already in use. So once you register, you will see your profile. So you'll see your name at the top, in this case, Sample Fall 18, and you will also see your calendar. Eventually, after you register for classes, this calendar will show your weekly schedule, but for now, of course, it will be blank. You'll also see other information here, so this will be useful for you throughout the semester and before you come. For now, the most important thing is this semester information page on the left side of the screen. When you go to this page, you'll see a copy of the pre-departure guide that I've already sent to you, so this will open in a PDF for you. You'll also see the sample visa application. We will be going through this just in a minute. And you'll also see a link to the Fall 2018 Facebook group. We really encourage you to join the Facebook group so that you have a chance to meet your peers before you come to Prague. This is also a place where my colleagues and I will be able to answer any questions, and also other students will be able to chime in, you know, what they're packing, where they're flying from to get to Prague, all of these sorts of things. So that's a pretty useful place. Other things on this page will be about registration for courses, which I will also talk about non-ECES courses in case you want to be a little adventurous and take courses outside of the ECES program at Charles University, which you're more than welcome to do. Also about the attendance policy, your final grades at the end of the semester. I know it seems really far away, but we have this information available for you, and also the academic calendar. So I really encourage you to read through all of this information so that you're up to date and ready to come to Prague. So the first thing that we're going to cover in the webinar is the Czech visa application process. So this list of documents here that you can see on your screen is the list of documents that you'll need to submit for your visa application. So I'll go through them one by one. The first document that we're going to go through is this visa application form. If you haven't already found it, you can download it from the website of the embassy or consulate where you'll be submitting your application. We have the sample visa application form, like I said, on the ECES website under semester information. So I'm going to go through each number just so that you can see what they're asking for in each place. Some of these items you'll be able to copy directly from the sample. Others you'll need to insert your own personal information, so I'll explain that as well. For number 1, your surname, this is just your last name, so that one's easy. Number 2, you can leave blank unless you've had a different last name than you currently have. Number 3 is your first name and your middle name if it appears in your passport. So for this one, it's really important that you check your actual passport to see whether or not your middle name is listed there. If it is, then you need to include it here because your middle name should match your passport, or your name on this application should match your passport exactly. Number 4 is your date of birth, and this should be written in day, month, year format. Number 5 is your place of birth, and if you were born in the US, you should write your city and state, and you should spell the state out, not with the acronym. Your country of birth, if it was the US, you should write USA here in all 3 boxes, all 3 lines. If you were born somewhere outside of the US or you have a different nationality, please just drop me an email or send me a message and I can give you the country code for that country. For number 8 and 9, you'll just check the appropriate boxes. Number 10, you should put on the first line your father's last name, and then on the next line his first name. And same for number 11, your mother's last name, and it's her current legal last name, whatever her last name is now, and then her first name. Number 12 is you just check the appropriate box, probably ordinary passport for all of you. Number 13 is your passport number, and 14 is the country issued by, so if that's USA, put USA. If not, let me know and I'll give you the country code. Number 15 is the date of issue. You can find this inside of your passport. And number 16 is the valid until date. With the valid until date, please check very carefully to be sure that your passport is valid for at least 6 months after the departure date, so after June of 2019. If your passport is not valid after June of 2019, then you need to renew it and you need to expedite the renewal because you're very close to the deadline where you wouldn't be able to get your visa in time. This is really important because you would need to apply for your visa with the new passport and new passport number. So please check that carefully. Number 17, you can leave blank unless you've lived in a country other than the country where you were born. If you have lived in a country other than the country where you were born, please email me and explain the situation and I'll let you know what you need to write in number 17. Otherwise, leave it blank. Number 18, your current occupation should be student, and that applies even if you have a full or part-time job. For the purposes of this, you're a student. Number 19, you should put your own home university's address and name. So this is just a sample of one university, but you should put your actual university's details. Number 20 and 21, you can copy directly from the sample. And the way that you write 20 is really important because otherwise the name doesn't fit into the boxes. Number 22, you can leave blank unless you've ever stayed in the Czech Republic for more than 3 months. Number 23, if you're living at the Kamenského dorm, the ECES program housing, you can copy this directly. If you're not planning to live at Kamenského dorm at the university provided housing, please let me know as soon as possible because there's other requirements that you'll need to fulfill that I won't be talking about in this webinar. So it's really important that you get in touch with me soon. Number 24, if you're living at the dorm, again, you can leave this blank. Number 25, your visa is requested for 104 days, and this is whether or not you plan to come early before the program starts or leave after. It's 104 because you're applying for the visa only for the dates of the program. Any other dates are covered by a tourist visa that you would have as American or Canadian citizens, where you have 90 days in every 180-day period to be in the Czech Republic. Number 26 is asking if you've ever had any other Czech visas. You can leave it blank if you haven't. You can leave number 27 blank unless you've had a visa for another country in the Schengen zone. Number 28, you'll check the box study, and again, you have to check study here. Number 29 and 30, you can copy directly. These are the date of arrival and date of departure. And again, this is whether or not you're coming early or staying late. The dates here need to match the program dates exactly because these will match the documents that we'll give you. Number 31 and 32 probably will be the same as the sample. You'll probably be arriving to Prague on a plane. It doesn't really matter that much if you end up coming a different way, so you can write Prague and plane. And then for number 33, you can copy all of this information exactly. This person, Sylvia Bomova, she's the head of international relations at Charles University, and she's officially the legal person inviting you. Number 34, the manner of funding your stay has to be yourself. You have to check this box. Number 35, you will probably check cash and credit cards as the means of support during your stay, and this is even if you're receiving some scholarships or something like this, this will be the simplest way. And yeah, we don't recommend that you bring traveler's checks just because they're not very common anymore. And then you'll also need to check travel and or health insurance, but leave the valid until date blank. A little bit later, I'll be going through the process on how you can purchase necessary health insurance, and you'll put the expiration date of that policy here. On the next page, you can actually leave all of this information blank unless you have a spouse or children. Number 38 will be your home address, and as it has been done here, be sure that you write out words like street, northwest, the state, all of those things, because those abbreviations don't really mean anything in Czech Republic, so it's important that you list everything out completely. USA is the only bit that you can abbreviate. If it doesn't fit, count out the boxes before you start. You can take away spaces, or you can write in this area just to the right of the telephone number boxes under the address line. For telephone number, be sure that you put plus and then the country code, 1 for the US, and then probably your cell phone number. Put a number where you could be most easily reached. And number 40, you'll put your email address. And again, an email where you will be most easily reached, because if there's something wrong with your application, probably they will email you first and then call you. So it's important that they can get in touch with you. And then at the bottom, you'll just write the place where you are and the date, and then you'll sign in the box. And that's the whole application form, so it's not so bad. Okay, so we'll move on to the next document. After you've completed your visa application form, the next document is the document confirming your purpose of stay. This is a document which we're actually providing to you, so depending on which university you're from, either we will send you these documents directly to your home or to your home university. If you are not from one of our partner institutions and we're not sending it to your home university's office, then my colleague Christina will be in touch with you to confirm your mailing address, so that way she can send it to the correct mailing address. So it's important that when you hear from her, you answer her email right away so that she knows where to send your documents. You don't need to do anything with this document. It will just check your name and date of birth. That will be where these yellow labels are here, just to be sure that those are correct. The next document is your proof of accommodation. So this document is your agreement that you'll be living at the dorm. We'll be providing this for you if you're living at the Kamenskeho dorm. It will be sent with the other document. The only thing that you need to do here is to insert your nationality, which will go on this line here. Somewhere there's a line here in this space next to Cislo. CISLO, just to the right of that, there's a line there for your nationality. If you're from the US, you'll put USA, or the other country where you're from. It doesn't need to be the country code. You can write out the country. Then your home address will go on this line here, and your passport number will be here. When we send you these documents, we're going to put post-it flags next to each place where you need to insert this information so that you can find it clearly. And then on the bottom, on this line here, you'll sign just next to the other signature. So you'll receive 2 copies of this in Czech and then 1 copy of it in English. So 1 copy in Czech you will submit with your application documents, and this is the copy where you're filling out your details. The second Czech copy and the English copy are for your records because it's something that you're signing, so you can fill it out if you want. You don't have to. The English one is an unofficial version just so that you know what it is that you're signing, because we're assuming that you don't speak Czech fluently to understand. So the next document that we'll talk about is your health insurance. As I mentioned, you need health insurance which is valid in the Czech Republic for the duration of your stay. Most likely you will need to purchase a policy to fulfill this requirement. If you think that possibly you don't need to, please email me and I can let you know, but most likely you will. Most of our students purchase from this company. It's called Maxima Pojišťovna. It's a local Czech insurance company that we work with pretty regularly. They do cover doctor's visits in the Czech Republic, even for things like you're not feeling well or you have the flu and you need to just see a GP. And also they cover bigger emergencies at local hospitals. They also have a plan which covers you in the Schengen zone that we recommend you purchase, and that's mostly because we know that most of you will be traveling in Europe during your time abroad, and so this way you also have some coverage while you're outside of Czech Republic. So once you go to that website, again, you'll have this presentation in video form. This website is also listed in the pre-departure guide. You'll click English EN at the top to make the page in English, and then you'll click Foreigners Insurance. You'll click Insure Online, and then you have the choice here between the complex medical insurance or the emergency medical care. The complex one will be a little bit more expensive. I think right now it's 3,000 crowns for the entire semester, which is around $150 for the whole semester. The emergency medical care one will be a bit less, but again, it doesn't cover you in Europe. The complex medical one is the one that covers you in Europe. So that's the one that we're going to show you, but you can purchase either. Either fulfills the requirement. Then make sure that if you're under 26, you click this, that you're under 26 years old and you're a student, you'll get a better price, and click continue. And then on the next page, you'll click 4 months because that will cover the entire duration of your stay. And you will pick the start date as the first day that you're here. So probably from September 3rd, that's the date that it requires you to have it from. But in case you are traveling to Czech Republic a little bit earlier and you want it to start earlier, of course you can pick an earlier date as long as the ending date is after the end of the program. It will auto-populate the expiration date, and this expiration date is the date that you will go back and put onto your visa application form. So once you've done that, you'll click continue, and then on this page you will put your details in. So we'll go with our student here. I don't remember what his date of birth was, but we'll go with this. Make sure that you're putting it in day, month, year format. Miami. Here, right, just make sure you put the country code. So you don't need to worry about a dealer ID. You click yes, the policyholder is identical with the insured. And when you click next, it will actually bring you to the next screen, which looks very similar to the first. All you have to do here is enter your nationality and your passport number. So on this page, you'll just check that all of your information is correct. You can read over the terms and then click I confirm and pay the premium. Now, when you get to this page, before you pay, please call your credit card company to let them know that you'll be making an international transaction. This is really important because most often it happens that students go to pay the premium and then they put in their American card number and their bank or credit card company thinks that they're making a fraudulent transaction because they're not used to you paying for health insurance in the Czech Republic. So it's really important that you call them, you let them know that you're making around $150 payment in Czech Republic and to not freeze your account. Otherwise, it's a really big hassle for them to approve the charge. So once you pay your premium, you'll get an email with a contract that looks a lot like this. And that contract is what you need to submit for your visa application. The other thing that I recommend you do is downloading the contract, of course, and saving it onto your computer or the cloud somewhere else. And also, I recommend that you forward your contract to me because then I can save it on file in case of an emergency. We have it on file in case we need to bring you to a hospital or something happens. We have it. You don't need to worry about getting it. So I really recommend that you do that. Okay, I don't see any questions about this, so I'll move to the next. This is a criminal history background affidavit. Again, it's linked to in the pre-departure guide and it's on all of the consulate and embassy websites. American citizens need to submit this for their visa application form. Other citizenships either don't need to submit anything at all or need to get a full criminal record check from their home government. So in case you're not an American citizen, please email me and I can let you know what the requirement is in your country. So for this one, you'll fill out the top exactly like you did the visa application form. Your given name is your first name, and middle name if it appears on your passport. Surname is your last name. If you don't have a maiden name, you can just leave the line blank. Your date of birth should be written in day, month, year format. Your place of birth, if in the US, should be city and the state should be spelled out. Nationality is your nationality. Passport number, permanent address is the same that you wrote on your application form. When you go to write your telephone number, make sure you write +1 and then, or plus country code and then your phone number and also your email address. At the bottom of this form, you can't see it here, but at the very bottom there's a signature line. Don't sign the form because you need to have it notarized, and that means that you actually need to go to a notary and sign it in front of them. If you sign it before you bring it to a notary, they will not sign it. So it's really important that you do that. Okay, and then the last two documents are sometimes the most complicated for students, so I'll go through them, but please stop me if you have questions. The first is the document confirming financial resources. All this is a copy of the front and back of a debit card which is in your name, and that's really important. It has to be a debit card and it has to be in your name. You have to bring this to a notary, so when you go to the notary, they may not be willing to sign it because most notaries aren't really used to signing copies of something. That's not usually what a notary does. So in case they're not willing to sign and notarize your photocopy, you can write something on the photocopy like, I certify that this is an original copy of my debit card, and you can sign that statement, and then they can notarize that signature on the photocopy. It's sort of a way around the weird requirement that the copy needs to be notarized. So make sure that you do this along with the criminal history background affidavit. Those are the only two documents that need to be notarized. And then the last thing, or the next thing that you need is your bank account statement. This is a bank account statement for a checking account that has to be in your name, and it has to have a minimum balance of at least $3,000. This is based on the current exchange rates. It's kind of a generous current exchange rate. However, we do recommend that you have a little bit more in your bank account in case the exchange rates fluctuate a lot, just so that you're sure you meet the minimum requirement. This checking account should also be tied to the debit card that you're copying. And remember that it needs to be in your name. You can just print an online statement. You don't need to wait for the next monthly statement. So just print off, the screenshot. It all only has to show your name and the balance and the account number. Those are the only real requirements that they need. If you don't have $3,000 in your bank account, which many students don't, what a lot of students tend to do is ask somebody, usually a parent or a family member, to transfer the required funds into their account for the purposes of printing the online statement. What happens to that money afterwards is really up to you, but it's important that you have this balance, and it needs to be in checking, not in savings. That's key. So after that, you've had all of the documents together, then you just need to take original passport photos. So this is the kind that you would get, for example, at a CVS or a Walgreens or some equivalent. Usually they can take them. And you need 2 original ones. When you have these passport size photos, please also send them to me directly. And we need them for things like your dorm ID card and to help you get your transportation pass after you arrive, so just scan them and send them to me. And then you also need to submit 2 copies of the data page of your passport and 1 photocopy of everything else. So once you have all of your documents together, run them all through the copy machine once and then make 2 copies of your passport and you'll submit everything. You will also need to submit your original passport, the actual passport. And so you'll submit this to the consulate, which is assigned to you based on the state that you live in. So if you go to the pre-departure guide here, The first section of the pre-departure guide is about your visa application, and this chart here will show you all of the places where you need to apply based on your permanent residency. And this isn't about the residency of your university, it's about your permanent residence, so probably the address that's on your driver's license, for example. So make sure that you apply at the appropriate consulate or embassy. In case you do not live near the embassy that you're assigned to, that's okay. You can mail in your documents. You don't need to go in person to submit your application. Although if you live close to the embassy that you need to submit at, and you can physically go to bring your passport and application documents in person, we recommend that you do so. This is because then you put your passport in the mail one less time. You know exactly when it was delivered, and sometimes they even check over the documents for you to make sure that you have everything. But if not, send it overnight express mail with a tracking number and insurance, every possible safeguard you can put, because you're sending your actual passport. And then if you can't go to the embassy to pick up your passport once your visa has been approved, you should also include a prepaid self-addressed overnight envelope with a tracking number, with insurance, and it needs to be with USPS Express Mail. This is important because most of the consulates don't accept any other kind of carrier like FedEx or DHL. It needs to be USPS, which is the regular post office express mail envelope. I also recommend that you keep a scanned copy of all of the documents for your own records. And if you want, before you submit your application, you can scan all of the documents to me, and I'm happy to look over them before you submit. That way you know that you have everything correct. Most of the time I can catch errors that you may have missed just because I've seen so many of these applications. Of course, I can't make any guarantees of what the consulate will approve or not, but most of the time I'm pretty good in that respect. This again is the list of all of the documents that you need. So please make sure that you consult with this video and also with the pre-departure guide. Again, all of the documents are here with a checklist. So go through a couple of times just to be sure that you have everything that you need, because it's very important. The processing time for the Czech visa is right now 60 days, but I will say that last semester the consulate did take longer than 60 days in some cases, so it's important that you submit your application as soon as possible. Very important. No later than mid-June, so that way you have some assurance that you'll get it before you leave for Prague, but really as soon as possible. If you can do it by the end of May, that would be ideal. That way you know you don't have to worry about it. You guys have the benefit of having the entire summer between now and when you come to Prague, so you have loads of time. There's no reason not to do it. Okay, does anybody have any Czech visa application questions? No? Okay, so then I'll move on to the next program bit. So the program dates for the fall semester: you arrive on September 3rd, depart on December 15th. I'll go through everything in the middle during the webinar, but it's important that you know that you're expected to arrive for the program on September 3rd and you're expected to depart on December 15th, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. In terms of course registration, this is probably the biggest question that everybody has. Course registration will be on July 3rd at 6 p.m. Prague time. So for example, on the east coast of the US, that's 12 p.m. noon. So be sure that you check in your local time zone what time 6 p.m. Prague time is, so that you're online at the right time. Spaces and courses are given on a first come, first served basis. And so if a course is already full when you register for it, you'll automatically be added to the wait list. So this means that if enough students sign out of the course, then you'll be automatically added afterwards. However, our courses do have limited spaces because we strive to maintain really quality courses with small course sizes so that the academics are the most important thing. And our academic board actually demands that we have a certain number of students maximum in every class. So it means that some courses could fill up before everybody who wants to be in the course gets a space. So that means that it's really important that you have extra courses pre-approved by your home university for credit transfer before course registration. So that way you can sign up for 1 or 2 extra courses in case you don't get into your first choice or you're waiting on the wait list for your first choice. That's really important. We can't guarantee spaces for every single student in every single course, course, because there's just no way to know which courses will be too full by the time we do registration. So that's the way registration will work. On the ECES website, if we go back to the website, on the left side of the screen, you'll click courses, and you will see right now nothing because the courses for the fall semester haven't been approved yet. The academic board will be meeting at the end of next week to determine the list of the courses. So I hope that by the end of May, we'll be able to release the courses. And once we do that, I will send you an email that the courses are now available online. But you will also see the courses listed here. So this will be once the schedule has been made and confirmed, so that way you can see which courses conflict with each other. It's your responsibility to be sure that you're not registered for two conflicting courses. The system will allow you to register for two conflicting courses, and this is mainly because some students want to register for two courses and then decide between them, or in case you're waitlisted for one, you can register for another at the same time to fill that gap. So once registration begins, there will be a register button here in this column, and you'll just click register, and it will assign you into the course or the wait list, depending if the course is full or not. And then once you're registered for a course, there will be a button here called sign out. That register button will turn into a sign out button. So definitely in the next few weeks, continue logging onto the website and checking your email to see when the course list is released so that you can see the courses which are available. For now, you can go to Program Overview and then Courses. And if you scroll down a bit, you'll see the sample semester courses. All of the courses listed here are actually the courses that we're currently teaching this spring. So while it's not an exact match to what will be offered in the fall, it should give you a pretty good indication. There are some courses, for example, Landscape and Sociology is a spring-only course, so some of these will not be applicable for you, but at least you'll have a good idea of what may be available in the spring term or in the fall term, so that you can plan ahead a little bit. Okay, so I don't see any course registration questions. I'll move on. In terms of the arrival day, your arrival day is Monday, September 3rd. If you arrive on September 3rd, you will be provided with free transportation from the airport to the dorm. The only thing that you need to do in order to secure this transportation is provide your arrival details on the form in the pre-departure guide by August 1st. So in the arriving in Prague section in the pre-departure guide, there's a link to a form. Just fill out that online form with your details. Please do not email your details to us. You must submit the form, and then we will confirm that you will be provided with transportation. You'll receive an email about a week before the arrival date confirming that you'll have transportation to the dorm and how to find the driver. If you arrive before September 3rd and you want to come to Prague a little bit early, if you want to stay at the dorm, you need to email Christina as soon as possible to request a reservation for the extra nights. The extra nights are at an additional cost. It's right now 375 Czech crowns if you have an ISIC card, or 500 Czech crowns without, so $20 or less per night. And you can stay at the dorm if there's space available. So it's important that you email her quickly so that way you know if there's space available or not. So the dorm. When you check into the dorm on September 3rd, if you arrive during the day from 8 or 9 a.m. to around 5 p.m., a staff member will be in the lobby waiting for you with your housing package. If you arrive before then or after then, it's possible that we won't be there waiting for you, but there is 24-hour reception at the dorm, so you can check in at any time. You'll need your passport to check in, and it's important to note that sheets and towels are provided, also pillows, so you don't have to worry about bringing those. Save your space in your suitcase. Also save your space on things like toiletries. These are things that are fairly easy to obtain on the first day when you get there. There's a little convenience store across the street from the dorm where you can definitely buy all of these items, and that way your suitcase isn't overweight, you're not paying fees on your way here. And you can also leave a little bit of room because you definitely will want to bring some things back at the end of the semester, so you don't have to worry about bringing those things. The housing at Kamenského dorm is suite style housing, so usually there's around 4 students sharing one suite. The suites have double or single rooms. We don't assign the rooms ourselves. We take your housing preferences from the housing form and then submit them to the dorm who assigned your rooms. And we don't actually receive the room assignments until just before you arrive, so you won't receive them until you arrive. But I would say that around 95% of the time, the dorm is able to honor your housing preferences. If you have a medical or religious or some other reason for needing a single room, please let me know, and we can try our best to arrange that for you. You have a housing coordinator, living on site with you. So she has her own apartment in the dorm, and she's there to help you in case you need anything. Her name is Susanna. You may have heard of her from former students. You also have access to a full kitchen with cooking supplies at the dorm, and this room is exclusive for ECES students, so it's just for you guys to use. And you do have breakfast provided Monday through Friday at the dorm. The breakfast which is provided is a cold European-style breakfast. It's a continental breakfast, so things like meats, cheese, fruits, veggies, hard-boiled eggs, yogurt, that kind of stuff. No scrambled eggs, unfortunately. That's really common everywhere in Europe. Even if you stay at a hotel somewhere in Europe that serves breakfast, typically those are the items that you'll find. So in terms of where the dorm is located, it's in a district called Prague 6, and Prague 6 actually borders Prague 1, as you can see in this map. This map is a map of Greater Prague, so you can even see the border up here of Prague. It's very zoomed out. So you can see the stars, which are most relevant for you. These are your dorm, tram stops, and university buildings. And these are all located right in the city center. So while the dorm isn't located in Old Town, it is located in one of the oldest parts of the town, and it is not far from the university buildings. If I zoom in a little bit, you'll be able to see a bit better. So this over here on the left side, Parlejova, this is the dorm. That's where your dorm is located. This tram stop is called Pohozhelets, and that's the tram stop that you'll most likely use most often. And the tram ride from here to here, Malostranska, which is the tram stop you'll get off for the main building of the university, that tram ride takes 10 minutes. So in total, you're looking at a 20-minute commute with walking to the tram stops, catching the tram, getting to the university, 20 minutes to get from your dorm to the main university building, which is here. Na Městě Jana Palacha. This is where the main building of the Faculty of Arts is located. We teach some of our classes here, and we teach some of our classes in a secondary building called Jindřiška, and that's here. Jindřiška is very close to Wenceslas Square, about 5 minutes away, also right in the city center. And the distance between here is about a 10-minute walk. So you may find when you go to look at the courses that you have one course in the main building followed immediately by a course in Jindřiška, but it's scheduled in such a way where you actually don't need to worry that you won't have time to get between classes. You definitely will need to hurry, but you'll have time to get between them. So you can certainly register for 2 classes, which are in 2 different buildings. In terms of the orientation period, like I mentioned, your arrival day is on Monday, September 3rd. In the evening, we always have a meet and greet for ECES students. This is just an optional event where you can come meet the other students, buy yourself some dinner, get to know the staff and Susanna and everybody else. If you want to attend the meet and greet, which we really encourage you to do, we recommend that you plan to arrive in Prague no later than 2 or 3 in the afternoon. That way you have a chance to get to the dorm, settle in a little bit, and then go to the meet and greet in the evening. In any case, we always recommend that you try and arrive earlier in the day so that way you have time to relax on Monday before all of the craziness of orientation starts on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, you have your housing orientation, which is a quick tour around the dorm so you can understand all of the things that are there and the policies. And then you'll do the admin things. You'll get your student ID cards and you'll have your ECES welcome meeting. On Wednesday, you'll have a chance to buy your transportation pass. This costs 720 or 60 Czech crowns. For the whole semester, you're looking at around $50 or $60 for the entire semester for a student travel pass. And we really encourage you to buy one. It's not required, but we set aside a time during orientation for our assistants to bring you to buy it because most of the people who sell the passes won't speak English very well. So this is your opportunity to do that. And then on you'll have your scavenger hunt, which is a city orientation event with local students. So you'll also have a chance to meet some local Prague students. And then in the evening, we always do a river cruise for dinner, so that way you can enjoy the sights of the city while getting to know your peers. On Thursday and Friday, you will have your mandatory day trips, and these are required, so it is not a free long weekend. So you'll go to different important places in the Czech Republic that are really valuable for you, so that you have some context for your coursework for the rest of the semester. And then Monday through Friday for the next 2 weeks, you'll have your intensive Czech language course, which is 3 credits. It's a full, real collegiate course. It's not something to just, pretend doesn't exist and throw away. You will get a grade for it, and it will be on your transcript, just like every other course that you take during the semester. So just to give you a bigger picture, this is the schedule for the entire orientation period. So you can see the first week is taken up by orientation activities, followed by 2 full weeks of Czech language. For those weeks, you'll be meeting for half a day every day for the whole 5 days. And then afterwards, your classes begin. You have classes from Monday through Thursday. And then all of our classes meet Monday through Thursday for the whole semester. So you don't have to worry about having classes on Fridays, because you won't. The end of the add drop period is Thursday, October 4th. So you can sign in and out of classes until the end of the day on October 4th, which means that if you're on a wait list for a class, you can still be added to it until the end of the day on October 4th. So when registration happens in July, don't stress too much in case you're waitlisted for a course that you wanted to take. Just hang out on the wait list, maybe add another class as a plan B, and then wait and see. Once people arrive in Prague, they tend to change their schedules a little bit. So usually we see some movement in these first couple of weeks of classes. During the semester, we'll also have optional trips and activities. Some of these have fees attached to them, others are free. These are just a sample of different activities that we have available. We usually do a weekend trip to Budapest, also weekend trips to Berlin or Krakow are available. We usually do a hiking trip to Český Raj. This picture on this slide is a picture of Český Raj. It's known as Bohemian Paradise in the Czech Republic, very beautiful. We also have some free things like a tour of Radio Free Europe, which I recommend that you Google if you don't know what it is. We also do a free Thanksgiving dinner on American Thanksgiving Day. So that evening there will be a Thanksgiving dinner provided to you for free as part of the program. So we recommend that you hang around in Prague and have an ECES family dinner. We have film screenings throughout the semester, also different lectures, and we offer cafe and gallery excursions with our cultural coordinator, whose name is Zuzana. She's also the person living at the dorm with you. She brings you to cafes and galleries and talks to you about her super interesting life. She's really an incredible lady. So that's available, also the different cultural activities. If you want to see more things that may be available during the semester, you can go to the ECS website. Here, this trips and activities page under student life will show you a list of all of the trips and activities that we've been offering recently, so you can read through the descriptions and see. Also, you can see the prices, so if you're looking to budget out how much you'll be spending on travel and optional activities, you can see what it may cost you. Once we have the trips and activities finalized and planned for the fall semester, they will also go on the ECS website, and then you'll be able to register for them under trips and activities the same way that you would for your courses. So if you go to the part where you're logged in and click activities, once the activities are uploaded, you'll see them in the same way you see courses, and you'll be able to register for them there. Let me find my slide. Okay, so we're nearing the end. In terms of preparing yourself for Prague, probably you've had a lot of information from your home study abroad offices about preparing to study abroad, but this is more Prague-specific information. So the first thing that we talk about is doing your research. So it's really important, especially because you'll be there for a whole semester, or in some cases, for some of you, a whole year, that you learn some basics of the history and the current political situation in the Czech Republic. This information is really vital, and it's the thing that almost all of our professors say would be most valuable for students before they come to Prague. Spend some time this summer doing some research, doing some reading. In the end of the pre-departure guide, you'll find a pretty comprehensive list of different reading materials that you can have available to you to get ready for your time in Prague. The other thing that you can do is start learning Czech. So there's some free apps like Memrise and Duolingo. Duolingo has Czech, but only on the desktop version. So you can still use it on your phone, but you'll just have to type it into the browser instead of downloading the app. Mango is something like Rosetta Stone. It's a paid-for service, which also has Czech language. But if you want to use the free ones, I definitely recommend Memrise or Duolingo. In terms of the culture, it may be useful to do some reading about the differences between Czech and American culture. There's a YouTuber called Honest Guide that many tourists and students alike tend to listen to learn a little bit about the Czech Republic. One of the things that you'll find is that the customer service is much different than the countries where you're probably coming from. Czech Republic is not a customer service oriented country at all. So they typically don't rely on tips for their wage. You can tip. A lot of people will tip like 10% or they'll round up. You know, if you get a bill for 90 crowns, they'll leave 100. But tipping isn't a requirement in the same way that it is in a lot of countries, particularly in North America. So just be aware that when you first get here, you may find that people are seeming rude in establishments when actually they're just doing their job. So you have to really put some things in perspective. But this is the biggest culture shock that most students realize when they first get here. The second is openness to strangers. So most Czech people are not used to having, for example, smiley Americans walking around the street. You know, when you walk down the street, typically Czech people will find you to be extremely strange if you smile at them and they don't know you while they're passing you on the street or something similar. So just be aware that finding Czech friends may be a little bit more challenging in the beginning. Charles University does have an international club which has a buddy program that's really useful in pairing Czech students with international students who are coming to the Faculty of Arts. So I'll send you information about how to sign up for the buddy program when we get a little bit closer to the semester. And then when you get here, hopefully you'll be paired with a buddy who will be able to help you adapt a little bit better and find some local friends. But usually the way that it is that it takes time to make Czech friends. So just be aware and be prepared for the fact that you may need to work at it a little bit harder if that's something that's really important to you while you're studying abroad. And the last thing that I want to mention is public transportation versus taxis or Uber. Probably you've all taken an Uber. You may be really used to taking them. I don't know. But Uber is actually technically illegal in Prague, so we cannot recommend that you take it. There are other app services that you can take, but most Czech people use public transportation exclusively. Usually they don't drive or take private cars anywhere. Partially this is for, environmental reasons, and partially it's because of the cost. A public transportation pass in the Czech Republic is very inexpensive, especially for local people who are buying it for a year at a time. And it's really comprehensive. You'll find almost anywhere you go that you'll have at least one or two public transportation options available to you, trams, bus, metro, even boat in some places. So we really recommend that you try and adapt to this lifestyle and use public transportation as much as possible, which is why we bring you during orientation to get your transportation pass so that you can take advantage of that. And then the last things that I want to mention are just some practical considerations for you. So these are things like calling your credit card company and your bank to let them know that you'll be traveling before you come to Prague. This is really important for the same reason that I mentioned it during the visa bit about paying for your health insurance. When you travel abroad, it's possible that they will flag your account because they think that you're making fraudulent charges while you're in the Czech Republic because they're not used to you being here. So you need to call them and tell them that you'll be traveling in Prague, and if you're planning on traveling to any other European countries, you should tell them about those as well. I also mentioned the current exchange rate here, which is about $1 to 20 Czech crowns. And I mentioned this not to say that our currency is very strange, but to say that the cost of living here is probably much lower compared to the cities or countries where you're coming from. And so this means that it's really easy to get carried away with spending while you're in the Czech Republic. So I really encourage you to sit down this summer and create a budget based on your personal finances so you know exactly how much you want to spend for each category, food, drinks, traveling, whatever, or each week. So that you stay on track, because when you come to a country where the cost of living is a lot lower than what you're used to, it's very easy to get carried away very quickly, to say these meals are so cheap. I'm going to eat out at a nice restaurant every single night, but that adds up really quickly. And it's also important to realize, especially when you're trying to make Czech friends, that Czech people make a lot less than people in other countries, which is why the cost of living here is so low. It's proportional. So if you go out with Czech friends and you're buying, 300 crown cocktails, for you it may seem really inexpensive, but for them it's like you're buying gold. So just be really careful about, mentioning to Czech people all the time, everything here is so cheap, everything here is so cheap. For you it may seem that way, but for them it could almost get insulting after a while, after they hear it a couple of times, because for them it's not cheap, it's normal, and they don't have the money to spend it on expensive things. Another important note is to remember to buy European style adapters for your electronics. We really strongly recommend that you purchase these before you come to Prague, so that way you don't have to worry your first day about trying to find them. And so you can buy these on places like Amazon, Walmart, Target, whatever, and they're really small, they're pretty inexpensive. You typically don't need voltage converters, because voltage converters are just to convert older electronics to voltage. Your laptops, phones, cameras, whatever should automatically convert voltage, so you don't really need to worry about it. The only thing that won't is heat producing appliances. These are things like hair dryers, hair straighteners, curling irons, whatever. We don't recommend that you bring these things to Prague at all. We recommend that you leave them at home. If you really need them while you're here, we can recommend places where you can buy them pretty inexpensively. And this way you don't have to worry about potential fire hazards. These things can still really overheat even when used with appropriate voltage converters, just because the voltage and electric systems here are so much different. So just be really careful of that. And then lastly, in case you plan to travel to the UK, just keep in mind that the adapters in the UK will be different than the ones for the rest of Europe. So if you want to go to London, for example, during the semester, you'll need to buy an adapter for the UK as well. It's sometimes hard to find these adapters, US to Europe or UK here in Prague, because people in Prague are typically buying them in the other direction. So it's definitely easier, cheaper, faster to buy them at home. And then the very last thing that I want to mention is to get an ECES card. This is something that Charles University officially recommends for its students. It stands for International Student Identity Card, and this gives you access to special student discounts that might not otherwise be available to you. You will have a Charles University student ID card while you're here, but this ID card may not give you access to all of the discounts that are available in Europe. Some discounts require specifically an ECES card. So check out their website. It's listed here, ecec.org, and you can actually look and see where they have discounts, and you can check and see maybe those things are interesting for you. Most students end up appreciating having one because it's not a very expensive card, and it does usually save you money. But you do need to buy it before you come to Prague. You can't get it here. So if you want to do it, make sure you go on their website to order one before you come. Okay, that's the end of my presentation. Do any of you have any questions at all? I'll give it a minute and see if you have anything in the chat box. If not, the most important takeaways: remember to submit your visa application as soon as possible, no later than the end of May. To send me a scanned copy of your visa application before you submit it so that I can check it over. To send and scan me your health insurance contract and your passport photos before you submit them. And also to have fun preparing for Prague. We can't wait to see you in September. So we have a question. If we submit our visa application in person, will we still need to leave our passports with the office? So yes, you will still need to leave your passport with the office, because they need it in order to put the visa inside. The visa is a sticker that will go on one of the blank pages. If you're traveling internationally this summer and you need your visa during the processing time, you can request that they give you your passport back during processing, but it means that you'll have to give your passport back to the consulate when the processing is over, for them to insert the visa. So if you're going in person, it just means that when you bring your visa application, you'll tell them, hey, I need my passport because I'm traveling. They'll give it to you, but then when you get back from your travels, you should go back to the embassy or consulate to resubmit it. And same if you're sending it by mail. Anybody else? Any other questions? All right, well, if any come up, if you decide that you do have any questions, please feel free to email me. I'm happy to answer any questions by email, of course, all summer. We'll be around. Also, Maria and Christina are at your disposal should you need anything at all. We're all happy to help. So if we don't have any questions, I'm going to stop the recording.